Shot in the execution of his duties on 7 October 1812 while riding express between this post and Fort Bellefontaine. He leaves behind a young widow who should take comfort in the fact that he was doing his duty to the end. Let us look to the book, the Gospel of our Lord, and reflect on the individual or individuals that laid harm to him. It says in the Psalms, "The wicked in his pride doth persecute the poor." There is no mistaking that Corporal Smith was a poor man. He leaves this world with nothing more than he came into it. However, we are better for having known him, and we, as we now remain, should take comfort in the Psalm of David where it says, "Fret not thyself because of evildoers, neither be thou envious against the workers of iniquity, for they soon shall be cut down like the grass, and wither as the green herbs. Trust in the Lord and do good, so shalt thou dwell in the land, and verily thou shalt be fed." There is no reason to fear that more evil harm will come to the rest of us, as befell Corporal Smith. Therefore, let us look to our duties. Let us stand firm in our resolve. Let us listen to our officers. Let us comfort his widow. And let us find strength in our camaraderie.
Thank you, sir. Detachment, attention. Stand on. Off. We now will also remember, on the marker is in front of you, there's several military dead. We will remember all of our fallen military. Private John King, buried November 15th, 1810. Private James Porter, 1st Infantry, died Wednesday, September 18th, 1811, buried September 19th. Private Clement Bonsall, 1st Infantry, died December 24th, 1811. Corporal John Smith, shot and killed on September 7th, 1812 by carrying dispatches.
Following are all members of the 1st U.S. Regiment of Riflemen. Corporal Edward Albro, died March 31st, 1820. Private David Carpenter, died March 28, 1820. Private William Curran, died March 28, 1820. Private Daniel Dennison, April 9th, 1820. Private Michael Heinchley, March 31st, 1820. Fergus Johnston, died March 31st, 1820. James Pritchard, died April 3rd, 1820. Private John Taylor, died April 10th, 1820. Private Horace Biddle, died March 22nd, 1820. Private Francis Clark, died February 24th, 1820. Private John Cusick, died August 10th, 1819. Private Thomas Finch, died April 2nd, 1820. Private Richard Holliday, died April 6th, 1820. Private James Noland, died March 31st, 1820. Private Andrew Slater, died June 1st, 1819. Private David Wood, died March 28th, 1820. Thomas Boyton, died April 7th, 1820. Thomas Kahn, private, died April 11th, 1820. Private Joseph Dedford, died April 9th, 1819. Private Isaac Hasberton, died April 1st, 1820. Private David Johnston, died April 1st, 1820. Private Philip Perkins, died April 8th, 1820. Private John Sloan, died April 15th, 1820.
Members of the United States 6th Infantry who were sent to this post to recover from Cantonment, Missouri in hopes that they would survive. Private Ira Butler, March 30th, 1820. Private Louis Allant, March 29th, 1820. Private John Haynes, April 25th, 1820. Private Roby Marston, April 11th, 1820. Private Henry McGrath, April 1st, 1820. Private Phineas Roberts, April 1st, 1820. Private John Hayes, April 6th, 1820. Private James Thompson, March 31st, 1820. Private William Cox, April 11th, 1820. Private Henry Cox, April 3rd, 1820. Private Josiah Jumas, March 21st, 1820. Private Francis Matthews, July 13th, 1820. Private Peter McHugh, April 1st, 1820. Private Stephen Roberts, March 30th, 1820. Private Edward Slater, March 28th, 1820. Private Charles Dodson II, March 29th, 1820. Private John Fuller, March 5th, April 5th, 1820. Private Patrick Malone, March 31st, 1820. Private Michael Murrah, April 4th, 1820. Private Robert Paris, April 13th, 1820. Private Martin Rosenkennitz, March 31st, 1820. Private Louis Servant, April 7th, 1820.
Colonel Abel first. My fellow soldiers, and most importantly, my fellow Americans. We've come to this very quiet and this very special place. And if you listen to the names that were read to you, and you heard the dates, how many of those were on the same day? And you listened as they would have heard to the sound of the Dead March moving to this sacred spot where these men would be left alone. Listen to the names. Today we might look at them and say, well, this gentleman is from this country and this gentleman's from another country. No, they were a prime example of our national motto, E pluribus unum, from many, one. That is your birthright as Americans. We stand here in this quiet spot, and the ceremony and the panoply of war and the color and the sounds, and it reminds us of the fate which awaits each and every one of us. And yet as we leave this enclosure today, you will hear a very uplifting song. It's called Merry Men Home from the Grave. And as we move to this enclosure today, everything was in the reverse because our world has been turned upside down. And yet, as we leave this enclosure, what it reminds us is the world must progress, with or without us. And merry men are now home from the grave. It seems very difficult right now as we stand here in the year 2016 and think that our country could